from Trade Union and are pleased to ask you a few questions. Would you please introduce yourself to our viewers and listeners?
Yes, as you said, my name is John Burl Smith. I'm from the USA. I live in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm the founding member of the Invaders. The Invaders was a Black Power group in America that started in 1967, and we worked with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. The Invaders supported his Poor People's Campaign, and my friend Charles Cabbage and I, we were the last two people to speak with him in strategy before he was assassinated.
Yes, and you're one of the CEO founders of the Invaders.
Mm-hmm.
And what impact did they have?
The Invaders had a great impact on young people during segregation, because young people didn't have the kind of activist organizations that exist today. So we were very much cutting edge then, because Black Power was young people's political expression, especially in the South of America, where segregation was total and complete. We had to form our own organization. We had no adult leadership. It was all about what young people thought and wanted to do.
You are one of the people who spoke to Dr. Martin Luther King shortly before he was killed. What is the core of his message, and is it still relevant today?
Dr. King's message was about the poor and the role that we could play in changing the circumstances of Black Americans' political and economic existence. He was not a child of poverty as I was. He was very well educated. He lived a very middle class life. He could have continued to live that kind of life, but he cared about everyone, not just Black people, and so he gave up his social standing, and in doing that he became a target of the government, and I think that he influenced me to continue to work for social change.
Now the next question. To what extent the situation for the Black population in the USA has improved since the 1960s, and what still needs to be changed? Yeah.
Well, the Invaders were a big part of breaking the back of segregation and changing a lot of laws. What we face now is economic slavery in a way that still keeps many Black people living in poverty. The big challenge today is to address the racism which is in the minds of people, and not a physical law. So you can't legislate against what people think, and that is a difficult thing to change, but we continue to work against that.
And what impact does the new U.S. president's policy have on the various population groups in the U.S. and in particular on the situation of Afro-Americans?
It is very difficult to judge the total impact of the president at this point. He's doing some things that upset a lot of people. He is changing the many of the administration policies that former President Obama brought into politics. So the impact on a lot of people is fear that they will lose the rights that they gained under President Obama. I can't say that he will ultimately be as bad as people fear at this point, but I think we can say that he is president because the majority that went to the polls wanted him. We should, black people should have done more to elect the person we wanted. So we will live with that and see what happens.
In many countries, including Germany, right-wing movements are becoming stronger and stronger. They define citizenship ethnically and exclude all others. Do you see connections to the racism?
Yeah, well, I agree very much that fascism is on the rise around the world. And we have seen what the world was like when fascism was in power in many countries. And I think that young people today have to look at the world that existed when fascism was in power and make a decision to oppose it. I think young people have a real role in this because it is their world that that will change. Either way, it will get worse or it will get better based on what young people do, because it is their world to change, to operate in the way that they want, and they have to care enough to become involved and not just sit on the sideline.
What role does international cooperation play in the fight against inclusion and racism?
They play a huge role. In America, it seems that it is the support from the corporation and rich people in America that gave political contributions to his election. So they are enjoying that support now. We are going backward, I think, in terms of environmental laws. They are allowing companies to do things that are bad for the environment. They are changing the laws in terms of workers' rights and things of that nature. So, but and those changes help the corporation to make more money, but the people who work for them are getting less. So the impact economically is good for the corporation, but bad for people.
Yes.
More and more people in the world are fleeing war, oppression and misery. What solutions do you see for this problem, and can and should people in Europe show solidarity with the refugees, and how?
It is a very difficult question, because the people who are fleeing a lot of these countries, they are at war, or the economic conditions are bad for them, and they are trying to find freedom. They are trying to find greater economic opportunities, but it is the fear in the countries that they are moving to of losing their economic advantage. It is a bad situation for them in some of the countries they are moving to, but we have to look at how to open up and give people more freedom. Prejudice and racism are the main problems that affect them. In America, we are doing similar things like building the wall between Mexico and America, and they forget the fact that most Americans are refugees from someplace. They came from Europe, and the Native Americans who were there when the Europeans came, now they are treated like refugees in their own country, and no one considered them as being America's original people. And so this is the kind of situation that most refugees are facing, and we're just wrestling with a very difficult question.
Yes.
What can young people today learn from the American civil rights movements of the 60s?
Young people today can learn to organize, to develop strategies that allow them to challenge the status quo. Young people are the largest demographic in any country today. The 18 to 25 has the potential to actually change the electoral process or change the majority in most legislations, but they don't vote, they don't really involve themselves in the political process. They complain about it, but it is the individual young person who must make a decision about how much they care and how much they want to maintain their freedom. And so young people really are the key to the future.
Okay, one question is from her, because we wanted to ask you, in this time there were a lot of different kinds of view on the civil rights movement, like for example the way of Malcolm X was a quite radical one in the beginning, while Martin Luther King wanted to do a non-violent way. And what do you thought about this different kinds of ways to demonstrate and to protest? What do you thought about Malcolm X, about Martin Luther King, about those ideas?
Okay. They were strategies. Civil rights was a strategy based on not responding to the aggressive, violent way that sit-ins, people were attacked. Black Power came as a result of that, but they both were strategies. I would not say that either was wrong, because you have to use the tools that you have at your disposal. Sometimes the oppression is so great that and you don't have the ability to fight, to take an aggressive approach. So you have to be nonviolent, or you have to be very passive in your approach. But sometimes it is possible for you to be like Malcolm X and like the Black Panthers. In America, the difference was the Black Panthers were in California, and California had very liberal laws. So you could talk about guns and things like that. The oppression was so great, you couldn't do that. If you had a gun, then if you were not killed, you were arrested. So we had to develop a way to oppose the system without giving the system the advantage of just shooting us down.
Of course, the main point, or the most important thing, was to demonstrate and to get some attention on the big problems of Black community, Black population. But did you also try to talk to white persons, to the white population which had the power, or maybe did you try to convince them to talk to them? Did you convince some white people who were like a bit racist?
Well, white people were a part of the civil rights movement. We would not have been able to do many of the things that we did do because they gave financial help. They helped Dr. King. They helped us develop strategies that allowed us to like do leaflets. They contributed money. They gave us access to the machines to print off literature. So it was very difficult for any white person who helped Black people. The official governments, officers and people like that, they were in power, and they were the ones who were dedicated to stopping you. So yes, we talked to them, but their effort was to maintain power. And this is why we had to do the demonstrations and the protests to try and put them in a position to where their political future was in danger. And that's what helped to bring policies, changes from them.
Okay. Can I have one? Very last short question. Just because you always said that if you wanted to have something like a car or something, you had to go to a white person who has those things or who had those things. But nowadays, like it changed. There's more. There are a lot of black population or colored population with also a lot of things who have great positions. But in which kind of parts of life do you see this white supremacy, this profit those things we have to profit from, we as well as white population, in which kind of parts or in which parts?
Well, white supremacy takes a lot of different shapes in a lot of different countries. Sometimes the supremacy is not based on, the people in power being white. When you look at certain countries in Africa, for instance, like Sudan, you have a country where they literally divided the country in order for the richer, more advantaged people have the north now, and the poorer, darker people have been pushed to the southern end. So it is something that not just based, I think, on color, but on economic advantage, on economic power. And it, unfortunately, this is a time when that kind of thinking is on the rise. The thing we have to do is oppose it, and so we're back to fighting some of the same battles that we fought before.
Okay, thank you a lot for your time.
Thanks for this answers. This was very interesting.
Thank you very much, Mr. Smith. It was a great honor for us to see you here with us, and thank you also for your encouragement of young people to fight for a better future.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Oh,
Thank you.
okay. You guys are so young. Oh. It was a pleasure for me to be interviewed by you. I am impressed.
Thank you.
Very impressed.